Live from Waterford and Dungarvan, this is Waterford at 1 News.
Good afternoon, I'm Sinead Aherne. Today's top stories. Waterford's David Cullinane says the Fine Gael Fianna Fáil government is the worst option for the people he represents. A Waterford Garda Superintendent says they're seeing an increase in domestic violence incidents. Homeowners with mortgages from the local authority in Waterford are now able to apply for a 3-month payment break. And in sport, the GAA are keeping a close eye on Bundesliga clubs and how they return to action amid the pandemic. The parliamentary parties of Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil will consider whether to approve going into government together later. It comes after Leo Varadkar and Micheál Martin signed off on a framework document spelling out how such a coalition would work. Our political correspondent Sean Defoe reports.
Yesterday, the leaders of Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil came to an historic agreement to try to go into coalition together. Today, they have to sell the agreement they reached to their parliamentary parties. While it's thought there's a majority in both parties in favour of the deal, there will be dissenting voices in both camps. Fianna Fáil's deputy leader Dara Calleary thinks the programme they're aiming for is a good one.
It's going to be a government of change, absolutely, and it's going to be a government that has, if we get it formed, will put a lot of thought, a lot of work and a lot of new policies in place in terms of housing and health.
Well, Fine Gael Minister Charlie Flanagan described the move as a no-brainer, but warned it's not done yet.
There's a lot of work to be done here. I mean, all we have is a framework and a handshake.
There are camps in both parties who don't want to do this deal. Eamon O'Queeve has warned there's disquiet from many in Fianna Fáil, while Ministers Michael Ring and Richard Bruton are among those urging caution in Fine Gael.
A Waterford TD, however, says the Fianna Fáil Fine Gael government is the worst option for the people he represents. Speaking to Damien Tiernan on Daisha Today, Sinn Féin's David Cullinane says it's not what people voted for.
Despite the fact that we are in unprecedented times, we did have an election a number of weeks ago, and in that election Sinn Féin won the most first preference votes, and both Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael between them, and it's amazing even when you reflect back on the results, got 38% of the vote. There was a time, Damien, when both of those parties were getting 90% of the vote. So the people passed judgment on them. In Waterford, Fine Gael are without any TD. Fianna Fáil dropped votes considerably, despite the fact that both parties stood two candidates. So that was a very, very clear message from the electorate that they want change.
A Waterford Garda Superintendent says victims of domestic violence have the support of Gardaí. Superintendent Chris Delaney from Waterford Garda Station says they're seeing an increase in domestic violence incidents during the pandemic. He's encouraging people to call them.
We're very conscious of allocating sufficient resources to address those particular issues, so people should not feel alone in any respect. They have the support of the guards, and we give very strong advice to people who may be the victims of domestic violence at scene in relation to court orders, and we operate a callback system where officers will call back to make sure everything is calmed in a house. But more importantly, we have a pro-arrest policy in relation to offences which are committed within a home. Our officers are instructed to really make early arrests and decisive arrests at those scenes and potentially bring people before the courts.
He says if neighbours are concerned, they should get in touch with Gardaí.
People who may have concerns or maybe neighbours of people who may not have reported incidents like this to the guards, they would be well advised just to ring their station and say, look, I have suspicions that there may be an issue in this house beside me or 2 doors down. I just want to let you know about it. Even that in itself can point us in a direction that there may be something going on that maybe people are too afraid to report.
The manager of University Hospital Waterford says she wants to thank local businesses and the public for their generosity towards staff. In a statement, Grace Rothwell says Easter eggs and food were dropped into UHW over the bank holiday weekend. She says this support and kindness helped boost the morale of staff. She's reminding people they're still unable to facilitate visitors at the hospital, and she appreciates this is difficult, but the restrictions are in place in the interest of patient and staff safety. The youth officer of the Dungarvan West Waterford Labour branch says he supports the Mayor of Waterford, John Pratt's call for the government to cancel the Leaving Cert. The June exams are being pushed back until at least late July or early August. Rian O'Donoghue is a Leaving Cert student himself. He says a lot of students will be disadvantaged by the government's plan to go ahead with the exam.
I couldn't say much bad about my school, but there are students in my school who will be disproportionately affected by the fact that the schools are closed and the current contingency plan put in place by the government. Those living out the country who don't have access to speedy internet connection are slightly disadvantaged there. Lots of students even wouldn't have easy access to a computer or, might have to do it on their phone. They're straight away disadvantaged there compared to other students.
Homeowners with mortgages from Waterford City and County Council are now able to apply for a 3-month payment break. The Housing Minister has announced that arrangements to support local authority mortgage borrowers have been agreed. Liz O'Mahony, Administrative Officer in Finance at Waterford City and County Council, is urging people in need to apply for the break.
People who have a mortgage with us can now apply for a payment break on their mortgages for up to 3 months if their income has been reduced or if they anticipate that their income will be reduced because of the COVID-19 emergency. We have a very straightforward application form on our website, or if people haven't got access to the web, we can post it out to them, where they just outline their circumstances.
Some healthcare workers are going to be redeployed to private nursing homes to help tackle the spread of COVID-19. The sector has been badly hit by the coronavirus, with 151 clusters now present nationwide, as Stephanie Rowan reports.
There are now almost 11,500 confirmed cases of the coronavirus here, and 406 people have died. Dublin still accounts for the majority of cases, while Leitrim has the fewest. There are 408 clusters across the country, and more than a third of them are in nursing homes. Nursing homes also account for almost half of the fatalities. Now, for the first time ever, nurses in the public health system are to be redeployed to private nursing homes to help tackle the spread of COVID-19. Tony Fitzpatrick from the INMO says it'll be done on a voluntary basis.
Once there's full disclosure of the environment they're going into, once they can, more than 2 staff at a time, go in, our members and the members of the health sector unions will step forward in order to help these older persons at this particular time.
Meanwhile, the director of the National Virus Reference Laboratory says we're now testing almost 3,000 people every day, up from 1,500 last week.
Over 27,000 people have qualified for the COVID-19 illness benefit, but only 17,000 people have claimed the payment. A €350 weekly payment is available to anyone with a confirmed case of the coronavirus or who has been medically certified to self-isolate. 1,000 people in Waterford are medically certified for meeting the conditions as of April 10th. However, senior government official Elizabeth Canavan says in order to process the payment, the individual must submit an application.
Only 17,000 of these people have as yet submitted an application form, and as a result around 10,000 cases cannot be progressed to conclusion. If you're unsure about whether you have submitted an application form, please contact the Illness Benefit Contact Centre.
The Taoiseach has described Donald Trump's decision to stop funding the World Health Organization as indefensible in the midst of a pandemic. Simon Coveney says so many people rely on the WHO that deliberately undermining funding and trust now is shocking. The US President announced the move yesterday, accusing the international body of mishandling the crisis. President Trump defended his own approach to the emergency.
One of the most dangerous and costly decisions from the WHO was its disastrous decision to oppose travel restrictions from China and other nations. They were very much opposed to what we did. Fortunately, I was not convinced.
WLR Sport, Ireland's local station of the year.
Starting with Gaelic Games, where the GAA are keeping a close eye on Bundesliga clubs and how they return to action amid the coronavirus pandemic. The top flight clubs in Germany returned to minimal training last week, but following strict guidelines. All GAA action is currently suspended. GAA Director of Communications, Alan Milton, feels the return for players will be gradual.
I take solace from some of the examples we see around Europe. I know Bayern Munich about 10 days ago returned to training in groups of 6 and 8. And I think eventually, when we do get the green light to resume action, I think firstly it will come at club level, it will come on a training basis, and it will probably come in clusters of small groupings.
To soccer, where Manchester United goalkeeper Dean Henderson can become England's first choice. That's according to Sheffield United manager Chris Wilder. The 23-year-old is currently on loan with the Blades. Wilder told Sky Sports News that Henderson has the ability, attitude and mental strength to become a regular for his national team.
He's pushing now. He's a young boy. We talk about the mistakes that he makes. He gets over them. No doubt down the line, I'm sure he'll certainly be pushing and gaining that England shirt that he's desperate to get.
Mike Ashley may be finally on the verge of selling Newcastle United for $300 million to Amanda Staveley's PCP Partners, which are backed by a Saudi Arabian sovereign wealth fund. Any deal would have to pass the Premier League owners and directors criteria. While in cycling, the Tour de France has been postponed until the end of August because of the coronavirus pandemic. The cycle race had been due to start in June, but French President Emmanuel Macron has ruled no public events will take place until at least mid-July. The Tour will now start on the 29th of August and be followed by Italy's Giro and Spain's Vuelta in a revised cycling calendar. WLR asking you to stay at home. Our next bulletin is at 2.